got let go of ESPN with the contract situation that I had at ESPN. Had I not been let go of ESPN at that time, it would not have opened the door for me to be able to come here to LA, where I've had the 10 best years of my professional life.
Yo, this is the Inflection Collective. All of us are connected, reflective, real life perspective, respected. The banter, the chit chat, no cap is big facts, so kick back. This here is done there, been there.
And speaking of excellence, a team that, and this is another fan base that's out there, and I got to give it up for the Detroit Lions fans, because Detroit Lions fans, through thick and thin, through the negative times, and they had a lot of negative times, they've been some diehard, bona fide fans.
To be a Detroit Lions fan today, we know you've been through it.
You've been through shit. You've been through it. And now they are finally here. They are one win away. Can you believe this? One win away from the Super Bowl after knocking off Tampa Bay at home. They've won 2 playoff games for the first time in, 66 years, Eunice. They're in the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1991. It is amazing to see what they've been able to do. One win away. And then Baltimore's also one win away from going to the Super Bowl. So can you imagine how black Vegas will be if Detroit and Baltimore get to the Super Bowl? We're going to see some now later Gators, some fur coats. It's going to be some cognac. It's going to be some cigar smoking and some other kind of smoking. It's going to be a lot of blackness in Vegas if Detroit and Baltimore get to the Super Bowl on Super Bowl Sunday on February 11th. But shout out once again to the Detroit Lions for getting there, and Jared Goff. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what? So it's interesting because when you talk about the NFC Championship game or even the AFC Championship game, I actually have very fond memories of that particular weekend, because when I was with the Titans, that was the Music City Miracle that
I was there.
Got us to the AFC Championship game. And when I just think of that, championship weekend leading up to the Super Bowl, I probably have fonder memories of that than the Super Bowl, because we did go to the Super Bowl and lose. So I probably have a higher affinity, but also I am one of the few people in the world who has a game ball from the AFC Championship game.
Really?
The team gifted me with an AFC Championship game ball.
They played Jacksonville in the AFC Championship.
I'm sure our wonderful producers have already shown y'all that picture by now. By the time I've said that, it's on the screen.
Yeah, it'll be up on the screen. They do a great job of doing that when they edit
it's one of my prized
right
possessions. Is my AFC
But you know what? I was there.
Game.
I was there for the Tennessee Titans that year, covering the team. That was my last year in Tennessee, going to the Super Bowl.
Let's go back to that. Mike was in Nashville doing sports when I was in Nashville working for the Titans. Yeah.
For the Titans. And that's the first time I actually met you, even though I had heard about you or whatnot. I knew your sister or whatever. First time I met you, Tony Wiley introduced us. You was working for the Tennessee Titans. I was that first year actually being the Tennessee Titans. They had changed uniforms and everything. They used to be the Tennessee Oilers. So that's going to be incredible. And I remember the Music City Miracle. Shout out to Frank Wycheck, who just passed away, as a matter of fact, a couple of months ago.
Steve McNair, who we don't have
Steve
anymore.
McNair, who we don't have anymore. Yep, all those guys, part of that team, whatnot. Eddie George, who just had hip surgery at Tennessee State or whatever. So they had a phenomenal team. That was great memories. But it was good to see them actually do that. And nobody really expected it out of that team that year, just like nobody expected it out of the Detroit Lions. Like, are there things in life that we look back on like we just never, like having a black president? I never expected to have a black president in my lifetime. And then to have a black president followed up by a reality show president. Never expected that in my lifetime.
I used to do a joke about that. I used to say that when Barack Obama got elected president, you were like, wow, anybody could be president. And even though Hillary didn't win, but she got the nomination, it was like, wow, anybody could be president. And then when Donald Trump won the election, it was like, wait, so anybody could be president?
So anybody. Your dreams can come true. Yep. You tell your kids at a young age, your dreams can come true, man. But it's amazing. What I like about the Detroit Lions is like they've been underdog for so long. They've had this, like you said, this fan base that's been long suffering. But they also have a quarterback over there, Jared Goff, who I shout out to, man. This guy led the Rams to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and then was told basically he wasn't good enough. He was pretty much thrown away. He was traded for Matthew Stafford, who led the Rams to a Super Bowl. When he was traded, it looked like it was a bad trade at the time. But all Jared Goff has done when nobody believed in him is that he believed in himself. And I love that as a narrative for everybody's life, because I think we've all been there. We talk about done there, been that. We've all been there before where somebody said, hey, you know what? For whatever reason, we don't necessarily think you're a fit here anymore or you're not good enough, so we're going to move on. And a lot of times that can devastate you. I've been there plenty of times in my career, but what I've been able to do and learn to use it as fuel to not necessarily get bitter or whatever, and you get that, that bitterness you get in your feelings sometimes, but at the same time you use it as fuel to move on, to show them and to show yourself that you do belong, and that no matter what they felt about you, somebody's going to appreciate what you bring to the table and give you the right platform and give you the right type of identity for yourself so that you can move on to be the best person that you can possibly be in your profession.
And I mentioned we are high performing people, but that means we've had a lot of rejection.
Yep,
that
absolutely.
means we've had some big failures, some big missteps. I have had to take the mindset, and I learned this many, many, many years ago. There was a job at Nike, actually, in public relations that I wanted so badly. This is 20-something years ago. And I applied and had like the first interview. And I mean, I just knew this was it. And when I did not get that job, I was literally devastated. But I saw something around that time that helped me turn around my devastation at rejection or redirection. And it was, that means it's something bigger and better for me. So let me not mourn what I didn't get. Let me get excited and be ready for what's, I couldn't even dream what could have been better than that. And I would say that I don't think that's not the job that got away. I don't ever think about that time and say, man, I wonder what would have happened. What I ended up doing instead in its totality, because I ended up doing 1,000 other different things. I'm like, okay, that's how that was supposed to go. Being out here in Los Angeles, submitting for roles and auditioning and even trying to get representation, all these things where people are like, and yeah, it does motivate you to say, oh, you gonna eat your words. Ooh,
Yep. But you know
what? But it's also like, hey, well then that was not for me. Then I'm gonna keep it moving and be ready for what's even better.
Exactly. And sometimes God, I believe in God, even though I don't act like it sometimes. I believe in God. I have a good spiritual base. I do. I really do. Look around.
He know the word.
I know the word. I know the Lord loves me and I love the Lord. I do. I really do. But you want to go places and you want to be places where you're appreciated and not necessarily tolerated. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to be somewhere where they don't necessarily believe in you. You want them to believe in you as much as you believe in yourself, and you should have a high belief in yourself. I'll tell you the story about when I was in Dallas and got fired in Dallas. Best thing that ever happened to me in my career, because had I not been fired in Dallas, I would have been content with being a local sportscaster on the weekends for a guy who really didn't appreciate me. Had I not gotten fired in Dallas and gone through what I went through, it would never open up the door for me to go to ESPN, which catapulted my entire career. When I got let go at ESPN with the contract situation that I had at ESPN, had I not been let go at ESPN at that time, it would not have opened the door for me to be able to come here to LA, where I've had the 10 best years of my professional life since I have been there. So sometimes when you have been rejected, you think of it as a burden. But a lot of times, I always say this: your burdens always turn out to be blessings if you use the lessons that you learn in that rejection the right way. That'll help you move forward in your life to be the best person that you can possibly be in your professional and your personal life. And it has definitely helped me. So shout out to Jared Goff once again for taking that, and not only just being,
and shout out to everybody who fired Mike Hill, because he just gave us a list.
Hey man, I know. Fire me again. I want somebody else to fire me. Like, here's the thing.
Who ain't fired Mike Hill?
and no, seriously, but what's crazy? What's crazy about that is when I was in Dallas, the guy that fired me, and I'm not gonna say his name or whatever, but we went through a lot. It's in my book, an open mic. It was a lot of racial stuff that was going on and all that type of stuff, which I've dealt with my entire career. I understand that. But he told me something that resonated with me. The best thing he told me, he said, Mike, your career is not going to get started until you get fired. When you get fired, that's when your career starts. And that actually, I look at that and I think about that right now, and I'm like, you know what? He was absolutely right, because once again, a lot of times, Eunice, you know this, we get super comfortable being in an environment which we don't belong in. But because it's our job, because it's like it's a steady income, because, okay, the people treat you fairly for the most part, you just kind of stick in it, and you don't even think about what might be coming up next. I mean, we have ambition.
The fact that everybody else thinks you're having a great time. I call it the golden handcuffs. You're stuck. You're a prisoner, but they're gold, right? Now, I will say I've never been fired, but I am very good about quitting before they get to it.
Right.
I am very proactive. I'm like, you know what? This is the third write-up. I'm about to go.
There you go. But still, that's the motivation, right? When you already see the writing on the wall or whatever, there's that motivation for you to move forward and say, you know what? Hey, before you let me go, let me get the hell up out of here.
And also, you know, for me, it's like when I am being challenged at, let's say, an employment opportunity, when it starts that writing on the wall, at that moment, it's not even that I'm going to quit because I think you're going to fire me. I'm offended because I know who I am and what I bring to the table. So whatever this is can't be based in truth. Mm-hmm. So I'm offended that y'all trying to act like I'm not coming in here doing an amazing job. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to say for the record, I've never been fired. I do.
Well, hopefully you never get.
I have gotten hella no's. I've had a lot of auditions, and I have gotten hella no's. You're not fired.